What's up everybody, I'm SuperSonicJB. My favorite of the 5 senses is without a doubt touch, because I get to feel things. Like the Nintendo DS touchscreen.
The Nintendo DS, one of the best-selling gaming consoles ever made. The DS was a revolutionary handheld device and introduced gamers to the world of touchscreen mechanics. Wow, this game looks pretty cool. But what happens if I touch a screen here? Mind blown. It's hard to believe the DS is almost 21 years old now. My god, I feel like an old man. One thing's for sure though, it had an amazing library of games on it. Mario Kart DS, Professor Layton, Pokemon Black and White, it really had tons of great games on it. It also had plenty of bad games too, but that's besides the point. One series that eventually made its way on the DS was Crash Bandicoot. Crash was a series of platforming games where you play as a Bandicoot named Crash, and go from level to level, collect Wumpa Fruit, and fight the evil Dr. Cortex. Also, no, I had no idea what a Bandicoot was back then. Heck, I thought it was a fictional character like an Echidna. Wait, those exist too? God dang it! Anyways, Crash had a total of 3 games on the DS. Now 2 of them were also available on consoles, but I wanted to check out the DS phase for the series, since it feels pretty forgotten about. So without further ado, let's take a look at the 3 Crash Bandicoot DS games. Up first we have Crash Boom Bang. And no, not that Crash Boom Bang. This sounds like a perfect title for a Michael Bay movie. This game was made by Dimps and Sierra. Wow, I didn't know that crazy chick from Total Drama helped make a Crash Bandicoot game. I guess you learn something new every day.
And this is the greatest day of my life! Anybody got a paper bag I can breathe into?
Anyways, this game is basically a Mario Party clone where you control a character, roll some dice, play some minigames, and run around a map with board game-like spaces on it. This game came out in 2006, which is around a time where party games were getting really popular. So of course, Crash had to get in on that action. Now, Crash's rights transferred to multiple different studios throughout the years, but this was the first time the game was made by a Japanese studio, so let's hope it's good. Though according to lots of reviews, it looks like it's a pretty bad game. But hey, let's see for ourselves. On the game's title screen, we see Crash running away from this guy, who looks like a Toontown character. Wow, I really just referenced Toontown in 2025. Anybody remember that game? No? My gosh, I really am old. Also, why are they running around like that? Anyways, first thing the game has us do is select our character. Oh heck no, I ain't choosing this guy. His boss fight pissed me off back in the day. Let's just stick with Crash. So we have 3 different modes to play from. We got Festival Mode, which is where you play on a stage with a bunch of other players. Adventure Mode, which is a story-driven section where you play on multiple stages to get a super big power crystal. Yes, that's what it's actually called. And you got the My Room Mode, where Crash tells you to get out of his room.
Get the fuck out of my room and play Minecraft!
Okay, really this is just where you replay minigames, view collected items, or make a motion panel, which is something you can use to communicate with other players, or even block your view of the screen. So let's start things off in Adventure Mode, and I can say off the bat, the game's story is a literal definition of boring. I mean, just look. The story involves this rich guy named Viscount, who uses Crash and his friends to help him find a super big power crystal. He has them compete in a competition, and the winner will get $100 million. Or something, I don't really care. The game's story is super boring and predictable in every way. The cutscenes are just a bunch of JPEGs with okay looking art, and Viscount is such a lame villain. Now yes, it's a Crash game, and most people don't play Crash for the amazing storytelling, they play for the fun gameplay. But trust me, the gameplay here is anything but fun. How it works is that you all roll a dice block at the same time and move across the board, collect Wumpa Fruit, and play mini games. One thing to note here is that this game plays more similarly to Sonic Shuffle compared to Mario Party, meaning that you have to land on a minigame space in order to activate a minigame, so you won't just automatically play one at the end of everyone's turn. Some spaces will give or take Wumpa Fruits from you, which you can use to purchase items that will assist you or hurt your opponents during a match. The game also really wants you to use your items because it feels like every 10 seconds, Aku Aku here will tell you to use your items to help you win. Yeah man, you told me this 15 times during this match. I think I get it already. Also, if you're in the lead, he'll constantly tell you to not let your opponents catch up. Yeah, no duh, Captain Obvious. Some stages have an objective to complete, like collecting all the key items in order to move on to the next stage, while some others are just simply get to the goal. I would have just preferred to just end the game after a certain amount of turns, but whatever. So how do the minigames play? Well, they pretty much all use a touchscreen in some way, and pretty much all of them are really bad. The touchscreen controls don't always work properly in most minigames, and even when they do, the actual games themselves are just so boring and pathetic. Like, why on earth does this play minigame maybe use a touchscreen to steer? It's not like it's just press left or right on the screen to steer, no. You have to press the wings in order to steer. And you also press the plane itself to shoot. So lots of times here, I get screwed over by these freaking controls. There's also a horse racing minigame where you quickly tap your horse to pull up this meter to gain speed. But the horse will only go faster when the meter is full, and that only lasts for about 5 seconds. And once it's drained, your horse starts moving really slowly, and you can easily lose the race because of this. Also, why the heck is Crash Bandicoot riding a horse here? So yeah, the minigames in this game are absolute crap. The only thing worse than the minigames is when the game makes you sit out of a minigame and bet on who you think will win. This is literally just a waiting simulation. All you can do here is visit the shop and buy items as you wait for what feels like forever for your opponents to complete their minigame. You can't even watch them play! You just sit here on the screen waiting and waiting and waiting! Honestly, at this point, I'd rather just move on to the next Crash DS game I got here. Overall though, I think Crash Boom Bang is a pretty bad game. The controls sucked, the minigames sucked, the story sucked, really everything just sucked here. I guess those review scores weren't lying after all.
So that's Crash Boom Bang, and yeah, like I said, it's not very good. In fact, I'd probably say it's the worst Crash Bandicoot game out there. But we got 2 more games to check out, so let's go ahead and check out Crash of the Titans on the DS.
So up next we have Crash of the Titans. This is a game that was also made by a bunch of new companies, including Super Villain Studios, but Drake Fenike works there part-time. This game was released on the Wii, PS2, Xbox 360, PSP, Game Boy Advance, and DS. Sheesh, they were still making Game Boy Advance games back then? But yeah, we're just going to be taking a look at a DS version, so let's check it out. The first thing we get to see after booting up the game is Crash bobbing his head up and down like he's listening to some sick tunes.
Nothing can stop you now. No close to bring you down. There's nothing left to lose.
We also get to see the other characters in the game, which is cool, but let's just start the game and see if it's any good. Because I have heard some decent reviews on this game, and some people say the DS version is even better than the console versions. So the game starts out with Crash asleep on Wampa Island, but then he is woken up by the Grim Reaper himself.
Crash, you can't sleep now. Neocortex is at it again.
I'm sorry, just every time I hear Greg Eagle's voice, I instantly think of Grim from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Mama say, mama saw, mama saw, mama say, mama saw, mama saw, mama say, mama saw.
Get on with it.
Just trying to get me mojo flowing.
Anyways, Grim, Aku Aku here, tells us that Cortex is up to no good again. He's apparently using the mojo power out of the islands to turn a bunch of creatures into monsters. Aku Aku has also been captured by Cortex, and is speaking to Crash through mojo power, I think? I don't know. I don't know what mojo powers are, but whatever, let's just save the day.
Brother, not another tutorial.
I know, right? Yeah, Neocortex himself teaches us how to play the game. Well, sort of anyways. He just says to check out the movement options on the DS's bottom screen. Man, talk about lazy. Also, why am I hearing Cortex's voice in the first place? Is he speaking to me through those mojo powers or something? I don't know. Anyways, yeah, this game is actually a 3D beat-em-up game. Lots of DS games are made in 2D, but this one wanted to stand out from the competition. Plus, the DS is already capable of running 3D games. I mean, just look at Mario 64 DS. So yeah, in this game, you can double jump, punch, kick, as well as block and dodge. It's a pretty simple control scheme, and its opening level does play kinda similar to the old school Crash level, but now you can punch stuff.
Hiya!
Which personally I think is a nice feature. This first level also has some grind rails in it, so I guess it took some inspiration from Sonic the Hedgehog. There's also items you can pick up in the stage that can heal you, or make you invincible, or even buff your attacks. Seems pretty cool so far, right? Well yes, as you play on, you'll notice one major issue. The horrible frame rates. My god, this game is unbelievably laggy. Look, I get it's a DS game and all, but wow, does it run so freaking slow! Anyways, we get to the end of the first level and find Aku Aku in the cage, and Cortex sends his mutants out to attack us. We free Aku Aku, and he teaches us the game's main mechanic on how to take control of Titans, which are these big creatures that you can ride on and attack with. You can take control of the Titans by attacking them, and when they're dizzy, you can use the DS touchscreen, throw Aku Aku at them, and take control of them. To be honest, I'm not that big of a fan of this mechanic. The Titans are super slow, and they're not nearly as fun to control compared to Crash. Now the Titans do have some good features. They're way stronger than Crash and can kill enemies way easier, and they have a bigger health bar than Crash, but even still, playing as the Titans just gets super boring over time. Like the battles you do with them are just really repetitive. There's also a power crystal in each stage, and you're required to collect these, or else you won't be able to unlock the boss. Like you can literally go to the boss's location and it'll be nowhere in sight because you didn't pick up a crystal earlier. Some of these crystals are easy to find, while some others are really easy to miss. You can also collect these mojo orbs, and they can get you a free jump at the end of the stage if you collect enough of them. You can also collect masks in each stage, They don't do much, but they're there. There's also some mini games you can play, like this one where you ride an animal and have to get to the end of the map while looking for Tiki Mask. You use the touchscreen to move left and right, and any of the buttons to jump. It's super short and the controls are okay, but if you so much as get close to a wall, you'll crash and will need to restart. Then there's this other mini game where you ride on a Titan in water and steer using the touchscreen. And this one really sucks because, my god, it controls so poorly. These minigames aren't required to beat or anything, they're just extra stuff you can do, which is fine. I just wish they controlled better. You also have some sections of the game where you play as Nina Cortex and shoot some creatures, turning them into mutants. Then later you'll play through one of these stages, Crash, and we'll see all the mutant/titans that Nina made, which is pretty cool. There's also a few bosses to fight in this game, like Dingo Dial, who's a pretty awesome Crash character. It's too bad his boss fight is kinda lame. He just slowly spins around in a circle and shoots you, and all you have to do is jump over his attack and hit him until he's beaten. Engine is also here, but it feels more like an enemy gauntlet fight rather than an actual boss. Then there's this boss that plays like that one Mario Party mini game, and the boss itself kinda sounds like a garbage disposal. For real though, the bosses in this game weren't that good in my opinion. There's also some bonus stages that are very similar to the ones from the original trilogy games, and they're pretty fun. Honestly, this game itself is pretty mid overall. The gameplay is okay, but can be a bit repetitive and annoying. The frame rate sucks, and the minigame's touchscreen controls suck pretty badly too. But the actual level design is pretty good, and the music's pretty catchy. Still though, this is definitely not one of my favorite Crash Bandicoot games.
Alright, just one more to go. Let's hope this last one's actually good.
So last but not least, we have Crash Mind Over Mutant, which is a sequel to Crash of the Titans. It was released back in 2008 on pretty much every gaming console that was around back then. Again, for this video, we're only going to be taking a look at the DS version, so let's check it out. Also, the DS version was made by a different company compared to the console versions. It was developed by Toss? Something like that, I don't know, who I've never heard of until now, but apparently they helped make the Game & Watch Gallery series, as well as some Dragon Ball games. They went from Goku to Crash Bandicoot. How cool! The game's title screen isn't really anything that impressive here. Let's just hope the actual game is at least somewhat good. So the game starts out with Cortex up to no good again. This time he's using these mind control helmets to take control of all the mutants on Wumpa Island. He sends a bunch of them out across the island, and Coco and Crunch try them on, and they both get a message from their helmets telling them to come to a release party, and all of their helmets being released. Crash and Aku Aku think that something fishy's going on, so the two of them go off on an epic adventure again. The game even has a level select screen, just like the old games. So off we go to our first level. Let me just say this now, this game is already a big downgrade compared to Crash of the Titans on the DS. For one thing, this is a 2D side-scroller instead of a 3D game. The controls here are very similar to Crash of the Titans. You can double jump, punch, kick, and even slide into a women's DMs. Not like that, I meant you can literally just slide. You know, the Lancer slide. If you're one of my viewers, you might have gotten that joke. And just like in Crash of the Titans, you can once again ride on and control Titans here, which can be found in each level. They control very similarly to how they did in Crash of the Titans, but I'm pretty sure their attacks are a little slower now. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of the Titans gameplay, because they're not as fun to control as Crash. Plus here in this game, the Titans are even less fun because they're slower now. However, in this game, your Titan can transform into a stronger version of themselves if they collect enough Mojo Orbs. Which is cool and all, but they just look slightly different and can do a little bit more damage. So it's not even that big of a deal. I will say this, the level design here is really bad. Lots of sections feel copy and pasted, and there's not much happening here in any of these levels besides enemies coming in to attack you. Honestly, what I did was jump over all the enemies and try to get to the end of the level as quickly as possible, because these stages drag on for far too long, and collecting stuff isn't really even that worth it. You'll play through tons of repetitive and boring stages until you unlock a boss. And these boss fights all suck too, because they were either boring, frustrating, or way too easy. Plus, they're literally just copy and pasted Titan fights that we see across multiple levels. It's also weird that the levels are in 2D, but the characters and enemy models are in 3D. I don't know why they go for the style here, but this game does feel more similar to the Game Boy Advance version of Crash of the Titans, which was a big downgrade compared to the DS version. So I'm not sure why this game would follow this pattern. Really, the levels here are just so boring and lifeless. Like, did the devs even try while making this game? Even the music is awful to listen to. And honestly, I don't even have much more else to say about this game, other than it sucks! Is it as bad as Crash Boom Bang? Well, I wouldn't go that far. This game does control a little bit better than that game does. But it's so boring and forgetful. Like I said, I really don't have much more else to say about this game. It's just a repetitive and boring game that's really forgetful in the end. In fact, it's so boring, it literally makes me wrap up the video right now.
So those are the Crash Bandicoot DS games, and yeah, overall, they were pretty forgetful. Like, the main issue about them was either the controls or the fact that they were just so boring to play. And after playing through those games, I definitely say that touch is no longer my favorite of the 5 senses. That belongs to sight, because at least I can close my eyes when I'm about to play a crappy game.